Okay, Shelby, let's solve some equations here. Before I solve the equation, I need to know how many answers I'm looking for. So there's that second power means you're going to have two of them. So at this point in the class, whenever I have two answers, I need to clear one side of the equation. So I'm going to minus 2x to the second to cross it out, and then I'm going to minus the 2x to the second with our 3x to the second. Okay, and then 8x, I'm going to minus 8x. Now, where can I put 8x? No, it wouldn't go with there, but it would go underneath here. Then I minus 40, and then 40 didn't have an x, so since 40 didn't have an x, I just put minus 40 right here, okay? So now equals, now I have 0 over there because everything's been canceled. Okay, so now we just simplify that left side, simplify the like terms. Okay, so 3 minus 2 is 1, so that's 1x to the second. 5 minus 8, so positive 5 minus 8 gives me negative 3, so minus 3x. And then we have our minus 40. Then block that off, so now we can just start the equation from here. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3 terms. So I know what to do with that. Okay, I'm going to look for a GCF, if I have one. And then I'm going to see if I can use my T-chart. So GCF, I don't have a negative in front. That does not have X. The 40 doesn't. And then 1's my smallest number, so the only factor of 1's 1, so there's no GCF. Okay, then I A, B, and C that. So 1 times negative 40 is negative 40. So it's negative, so I'm looking for a difference of 3. Again, A times C, okay? 1 times negative 40, okay? So I'm looking for a difference that is going to equal 3. So 1 and 40, that's not it. 40 divided by 2 is 20. But 2 and 20 is not it, okay? 40 divided by 3 is a decimal. 40 divided by 4 is 10, so I have 4 and 10. 10 minus 4 is not 3, though, so 40 divided by 5 is 8, okay? So 5, 8, and 8 minus 5 is 3, okay? All right, so my A equals 1, so that means I just need 2 parentheses here. So x, and then 5, 8, and then I have minus 3, so I have minus 8, and then difference means the signs have to be the opposite. Okay, so that's factor number 1, and that's factor number 2, and then I'll be able to solve. So x plus 5 equals 0, or x minus 8 equals 0. Minus 5, 1x is going to equal negative 5, so there's our first answer. Plus 8, 1x equals 8, there's your second answer. Okay, my next problem, there's x's are to the second power, so there's 2 answers here. Okay, so here's my equal. So I need 0. If I'm going to find the 2 answers, the only way I know how to do that at this point is to factor. But in order to factor, we've got to get everything together. So I minus 5x squared, and that goes with the 7. Then I minus 4x. That goes here. Okay, now I can drop the equals because that side's all clear. It's 0. So 7 minus 5 is 2. So 2x to the second. And then I need to take negative 10. Top number has a minus. That needs to be entered in your calculator as a negative minus 4. That's negative 14. So minus 14x. Okay. Okay, so this time there's only two terms. Okay, so two terms. 1, 2. So again, I'll be looking for a GCF. But then I'm going to do something different, okay? I'm not going to do the T-chart. Instead, I'm going to see if I have a difference of perfect squares, okay? So GCF, well, do I have the negative in front? No, but I do happen to have x connected to both of my terms, so I need to use x, okay? And then 2 and 14, so we use 2, so 1 and 2. So we want to see if we can divide 2 and 14 by something here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 14 divided by 2 is 7. So 2 works, so I need to divide by 2x. So I put 2x here. Then I go divide by 2x. So that's going to be 1x. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and those cancel. Okay, now is this a difference of perfect squares? No, it's not, because 7 on that sheet of perfect squares, 7's not on that list, so no. Okay. Okay, so I parenthesize the GCF, and then those are the factors I use to solve, factor 1 and factor 2. Okay, so 2x equals 0, or 1x minus 7 equals 0. So I divide by 2 and I get 0. And then 1x equals 7. Okay, 0 and 7. Okay, so I'm going to keep at it here. Now this next problem, I don't have x to the second power, so there's only just one answer, okay? So x. So if there's just one answer, what we need to do is get the x's on one side and the non-x's on the other. So first what I'm going to do is just minus the 10x and then minus 10x, okay? So 5 minus 10 is negative 5x, and then I've got my 3, and then 33. Now I just box this up and minus 3. Now I get the non-x numbers to our other side. So negative 5 times x equals 30. And then I just divide both sides by negative 5. That's x, and that's negative 6. And that's how you just find one answer, because we didn't have any second powers. Okay, now we have second powers, so there's going to be two solutions, I think, to these problems. So, plus 2x squared plus 2x squared minus 3x, and then I minus 3x. So that's going to be 6x to the second. Then we take negative 10 minus 3 gives me negative 13x. And then minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so there's three terms this time, so 3 terms. So I look for a GCF. And then I'm going to use my T-chart. GCF. Well, I don't have the negative in front. I don't have x on everything. So 5 would be the smallest. 5 divided by 1 is 5. Then as you can see, if I divide 5 by 2, that doesn't work. 3 doesn't work. 4 doesn't work. And then I'm just back to 5. Okay, so I want to see if I can divide these all by 5. So 6 divided by 5, no. 13 divided by 5, no. 5 divided by 5, okay. So 5's not going to work. And then if all I have is 1, we're not going to do the GCF. We're just going to cross it out. Okay, now I take A times C, and that's going to be 6 times negative 5, and that's going to be negative 30. So I'll be looking for a difference that would equal 13. Okay. So 30 divided by 1 is 30, but 30 minus 1 is not 13. 30 divided by 2 is 15, and 15 minus 2 is 13, so I need to use that. Now down here, what does A equal? A equals 6. Okay, so since I know that A is not a 1, we're going to need two sets of parentheses. Okay, so the 6. Okay, so we drop the 6 in there. Then x second, that's going to be x, and then 2 and 15. Okay, so I've got minus 13, so you're going to have minus on the 15. And then difference, you're going to be plus. Okay, so 6 and 2, let's look at 2. And then out of 6 and 15, we're going to look at 6. So factors of 2 is 1 and 2. Okay, so 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, so 2 works. We need to actually divide by 2. So it's going to become 3x plus 1. Okay, so 6, factors of 6, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And then 4 is a decimal, so we just go with that. 6 divided by 6, 15 divided by 6. Okay, so 6 is a loser. We can't do him. Let's try 3. Okay, so 3. So I divide these by 3. That's going to be 2x minus 5. Okay, so now I have my two factors. This is factor number 1. This is factor number 2. So 3x plus 1 could equal 0. Or 2x minus 5 could equal 0. So minus 1, so 3x equals negative 1. Then I divide by 3. So negative 1 divided by 3, it's going to be negative 0.3 repeating. Plus 5, 2x equals 5, divide by 2. And then 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. All right, next up. There are two answers here. So I need to get this equal to 0. So I plus 5x squared, and I plus 5x squared. So that's going to give me 9x to the second, and then minus 16 equals 0. Now, this time there are only two terms, so if there's only two terms, we need to set up the GCF, and then we're going to see if we have a difference of perfect squares. Okay, so GCF, well, I don't have the negative, and I don't have x on everything, so now I guess I can look at 9, so 1 and 9. 9 divided by 2 is a decimal. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I got twin factors there. So now I see if I can divide, okay? So 9 and 16. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. 16 divided by 9. Okay, that's a decimal, so 9 fails, okay? 9 divided by 3, 16 divided by 3. Okay, 3 also fails a test. So there's no GCF that I can possibly do other than 1, which doesn't help us at all. So a difference of perfect squares. Well, I have the minus, and then 16 is 4 times 4. And then 9 is 3 times 3, and x squared is x times x. So that would be 3x times 3x. Okay? So this is a difference of perfect squares. So I make two parentheses. One's a plus, one's a minus. And then I just break it into the factors. So I have 3x, 3x. And then I've got 4 and 4. Okay? So now I can solve it. I can get my two answers. That's factor 1, that's factor 2. So 3x plus 4 could equal 0, or 3x minus 4 could equal 0. So I minus 4, so 3x equals negative 4. Okay, so negative 4 divided by 3 is going to be negative 1.3 repeating. And then this is the same thing, but it's just going to be the opposite. That's going to be positive 1.3 repeating. Okay, so those are your two answers. Okay, I got second powers here, so there's going to be 2. So what I need to do is minus 2x squared, and then I can minus that from the 2x, minus 7x, and then I minus that from my 3x. So 4 minus 2 is 2, so 2x squared. And then we go negative 3 minus 7, that's negative 10. And 0. Okay. All right, so now we have two terms. So we have GCF and then difference of perfect squares. Okay. All right, so my greatest common factor, you don't have a negative in front. You have x on both of them. So x, 2 and 10. So 1 and 2. Okay. Can we divide these both by 2? Okay, so 2 works. So 2x is the GCF. Okay. That's going to be 1x minus 5. Okay, now do I have a difference of perfect squares? Well, I have a difference, but 5 I can't break down as anything times itself, so no. Okay, so that's factor 1, that's factor 2. So 2x equals 0, or 1x minus 5 equals 0. So I get 0 for my first answer. And I get 5 for my second, so 0 and 5. Okay, example 7. Got 2 answers here, so 2 of them. So here's my equals, so we got a plus 4x squared, and I can do that to the 10x squared. Then we minus 14x, and I can do that under the 6x. So 10 plus 4 is going to be 14x squared. Then I go see what negative 6 minus 14 is, and that's negative 20. Plus 6 equals 0. Okay. So 3 terms. So GCF. And then my T-chart. Okay, now we are actually going to have a GCF here. You don't have the negative in front. You don't have X on everything. But if you look at 6, 1, 6, 2, and 3. Okay. So let's see if we can divide them by 6. Well, right away, 6 doesn't work. Now let's try 3. Well, that didn't work either. It's up to 2. Well, that works. That works. And that works. Okay, so 2 is going to work, but just 2, not 2x. So 2. Okay, so that's going to be 7x to the second minus 10x plus 3. Now cross that out because now here is where I run the t-test. Okay, so a times c, so I take a times c. So positive 7 times positive 3, that's positive 21. So we're going to look for a sum that equals 10. Okay, so 1 and 21. That's not 10 though. 2 is a decimal, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. Okay, so 3 and 7. And 7 plus 3 is 10, so that works. Okay. Now, we got to decide what A equals. A equals 7. Okay. So if A is not a 1, we're going to, again, need 2 sets of parentheses. So I lead off with 7, and then XX, and then 3 and 7. So I've got minus 10, so we got minus 7 for sure. Then a sum means we got the same sign, okay? All right, so here we have 3. By the way, here if we have the same number, we're just going to divide by that number. So that's going to be 1x minus 1, okay? Here, let's look at this. So 3, 1 and 3. 7 won't divide by 3, so we just leave that the same. Now, you did have a GCF here of 2, okay? So what I need to do is just drop the 2 down. But, listen, since the 2 doesn't have an x, we're not going to use it to solve, okay? We're just going to cross it off because that's factor 1 and that is factor 2. So 7x minus 3 equals 0, or 1x minus 1 equals 0. So I plus 3, 7x equals 3. Okay, so we divide 3 by 7, and that's 0.42. Just put 0.4 would be good. Plus 1, 1x equals 1, and 1's your other answer. Okay, and then the last one's really quick. There's only one answer to it. So when there's just one, we want to box it up. That's your only x we have, so we just get the non-x's so they're on the opposite side. So 2 times x equals 20. 10.